You're watching Canada Decides. Canada has decided. Canada has voted for Mark Carney. We're now going to talk about what this means for India-Canada, what it means for Canada's position on the key issues that are facing the world. How will Carney's leadership will be different from his predecessor, that is Justin Trudeau? Viewers, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was unseated as the parliamentary representative of his Ottawa district in a stunning upset that could put his leadership of the party in question. So there's just so many of these parallel developments that are unfolding in Canada. Poilievre is projected to lose his long-time rural Ottawa seat to Liberal Bruce Fanjoy. In fact, he'd won the area 7 times in a row, going back to his first win in 2004. If we can, let's play out this soundbite of Poilievre. But before that, well, let's always start the show and to start the coverage with the winner, because the winner takes it all, and we should in fact be playing Carney's bite first, and then we'll come back and play Poilievre at some stage. But first up, let's get in Vikram Chaudhary from Brampton to talk to us about the ramifications of this victory, its impact, and how it is likely to shake things up in Canada. Vikram, I know it was basically Donald Trump who shook everything up in the last 2 months, but what do you expect going forward?
You know, it's a saying that 2 months is a long time in politics, or perhaps 2 weeks is a long time in politics. And this was the testimony. The Canadian election results was the testimony to that fact, is that even 2 days is a long time in politics. We've seen many ups and downs, but this situation, what's unfolded today, was unimaginable in December of 2024, when the gap between Liberal Party and the Conservative Party was more than 25 points. And today you have it, Mark Carney, who many perhaps never even would have imagined a few months ago that could be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And what I can tell you is that it's not going to be easy ride for Mark Carney. He's got a number of things to take care of. Obviously, the discontent in Canada, the economy is in shambles, unemployment, inflation, the unaffordability, and the local issues. So those are the key issues, of course, and the immigration. Those are the issues that perhaps he has to take on the domestic front. He has to take care of these issues on the domestic front. And the elephant in the room is Donald Trump. So that's another big problem. That perhaps where he's today, it's because of Donald Trump's rhetoric, that he's been quite often saying that Canada needs to be 51st state of US. That's how he's going to shell those taxes, the tariffs against Canada. And also, Canada has always been a great ally for US. And the fact is that the political parties try to capitalize on this, the betrayal, that who's best fitted to do the job, to show perhaps who Donald Trump, confront him up front. So that was the real issue in the Canadian elections out here. But on the Conservative side, they've done well. They've increased their vote share, perhaps the largest in the last about 20 years. But unfortunately for them, their leader lost the riding of Carleton. And not just Pierre Poilievre, it's Jagmeet Singh as well. Jagmeet Singh lost his own riding. And then perhaps his party even lost the status of the national party. So things were very loud during the campaign, perhaps the loudest campaign in Canada in last about 10 years. But
Vikram, I need to tell this to our viewers. Stay with me, because there are 3 very important takeaways of this election that has just come out. First important takeaway, Mark Carney has got the 4th Liberal victory. That was unprecedented, unexpected till 2 months back. The second important takeaway, Mr. Poilievre, that I was speaking about a short while back, has lost his own seat. There's going to be now a churn in the Conservative Party itself, and that is likely to shape Canadian politics as well going forward. The third other important takeaway is that Jagmeet Singh, the man who was very instrumental in being a part of Trudeau politics that essentially ruptured India-Canada ties due to extremist ideologies related to Khalistan, has lost his own seat, has lost the status of the National Party for NDP. So that is an end of the road for Jagmeet Singh. So these are three important takeaways. Now we are trying to now come up and talk about the big picture. What does this mean for Canada going forward? What will be Mark Carney's roadmap as he fixes the economy, fixes the trade issues with US, tries to strike a balance with some of the other countries in the world? He also mentioned that India is a very important partner, an important country he wants to focus on. And then, of course, he'll have to fix some of the other domestic issues as well. Bikram, I want to now come back to you and ask you, what do you think would be the first set of priorities that Mark Carney is likely to focus on?
I think the first set of priorities obviously is Donald Trump's the tariff rhetoric. So he needs to address, there's a lot of uncertainty around it, whether the spare parts, the auto parts, the cars, the aluminium, the steel, what would be tariffed and at what rate. So there's a lot of uncertainty around there. Of course, that would be his priority, and that's what got him to power, where the situation where Liberal is today. And when you talk about Indo-Canadian relationship, you brought up a very important point. Jagmeet Singh is not there. And let's remember that Liberal was a minority government, and Jagmeet Singh's support was crucial for Justin Trudeau, and he could have pulled the plug anytime. So what he was trying to play is perhaps trying to keep Jagmeet Singh happy and also bring in the nationalist a nationalist sentiment when he tried to say that India was trying to interfere in Canadian politics, and perhaps some of the Canadian citizens were not very safe when India had its interest to be taken care of. So those were the issues Justin Trudeau was trying to rely heavily on.
Trudeau rejected, Jagmeet Singh rejected. Trudeau rejected by his own party, Jagmeet Singh rejected by the people of Canada. So that ideology, that sentiment, that thought is now behind, and Carney needs to now turn the leaf, start a chapter completely different. Before I let you go and before we slip into a break, Bikram, I want to understand from you the churn that you expect in Canadian politics, both when it comes to the Conservative Party and also some of the other smaller parties. BQ did very well. Many said more than what was expected.
It's not going to be easy if I start with Mark Carney. It's not going to be very easy. Remember, he's not a politician. He's a trained economist. He was governor of Bank of Canada, Bank of England's governor. And this perhaps is his first innings as a politician. So you cannot, we cannot have high expectations. So it's not going to be very easy. Remember, for the moment, the counting has been suspended. They're still short of majority. First, he needs to do very well as a politician, take his flock together, and also try and see that portfolio distribution, who deserves what. So Mark's Carney task is not cut out yet, so there's lots to do. And also remember that Pierre Poilievre, he's a wounded tiger at the moment. He'll try and see that he remains the leader of the Conservative Party. Remember,
so a lot of churn is likely to take place.
25, at the age of 25, he became one of the youngest MPs, and ever since he's been very vocal and very articulate, and he's a very
vocal,
good
articulate, a young politician who's really tried to create that, and all along he created that distinction between himself and Mark Carney, saying he came from humble roots and he exemplified the Canadian life, unlike Mark Carney, who was Mr. Moneybags. That's what he talked about all along in the campaign. It didn't hit a chord with the people. I'm going to slip into a break. Bikram, thanks so much for really decoding that for us in greater detail. Maha Siddiqui, my colleague, who's standing by to really decode for us what lies ahead in terms of the India-Canada relationship. We'll also try and connect with Don Patel in just a bit. Maha, you've been keeping your ear to the ground, so to say. You've seen the changes that have unfolded in India-Canada relationship in the last 6 months. How do you see that being repaired, given the fact that Mr. Carney did mention that India is an important relationship, and Prime Minister Modi also congratulated Mark Carney, talked about the bilateral relationship. How do you see this now going forward from here, the New Delhi-Ottawa relationship?
Well, clearly, Gauri, at the moment, Canada realizes the importance of shoring up other allies, other friends and partners in view of their souring relationship with the United States, and with the annexation and economic threats coming in from the US. In that context, the whole of Indo-Pacific becomes very important for Canada. They already have an Indo-Pacific strategy, which does highlight the importance of India. But unfortunately, over the past few years, the issue of the pro-Khalistan movement being allowed to continue here unchecked in Canada was an issue that India was concerned about and had repeatedly raised, which led to a situation ultimately where we saw the unfortunate departure of diplomats from either side last year. With Mark Carney coming in, and if this is not a minority government finally, because remember, Gauri, counting is still continuing. It was paused for a bit, and in about 15 minutes from now, the counting will resume. And for some ridings right now, it is still too close to call. The Liberals are at 168. They are 4 seats shy of a majority government. If they finally get a majority government, they will not be dependent on any other party for taking the decisions that they do in Parliament or otherwise. Many people believe that the last time around, the Liberal government being in minority and being supported by NDP was leading them to take certain decisions with regards to India that were not conducive for the relationship between New Delhi and Ottawa. And therefore, a lot hinges really on the composition finally of the government, on whether and how stable it is. Mark Carney has indicated that he would like for better relations between the two countries, but how it plays out politically because of domestic pressures, it still remains to be seen, and it clearly depends on the numbers that they would have ultimately.